What's up, guys? Jordan Smith here, Senior Partner with North American Senior Benefits. I want to do a quick video for you on recruiting. That's right. Recruiting seemed very just kind of daunting to me, very intimidating when I got started. And I realized I had to take the pressure off myself and realize there's 6 billion people in the world. All I need is a handful of people that see the opportunity like I did, that want to make more money, that want to have more free time and lifestyle. And it's not as hard as you think to be able to find those people. Where do we find them? Everywhere. Cold market, warm market, living your life, old acquaintances, old friends, family members even. In fact, the more success that you generate, the more people will come out of the woodwork asking you for opportunity. So how do you start that conversation? I want to give y'all an acronym that I've been able to follow in my recruiting conversations. It's worked very well. It's been able to help me keep it simple and get results. Before I do though, I just want to remind you what each potential recruiting conversation could be worth. One reason that we're so adamant that you want to work a lead to conclusion on the sales side is that any potential lead could be worth $1,000 in commissions, right? Actually a little bit more, but minimum $1,000. Well, every potential recruiting conversation could be worth 10 times that. $10,000 annually if you help an agent get started and make the type of money they want to make. Where do I come up with that number? Well, if you help somebody make, say, $10,000 a month in premium, we call it the 10K Club. It's kind of the standard on our team, along with the Dream Maker team. 10K a month, they're keeping the majority of that commission, right? They're keeping 75% or more of their commission, but on average, you're gonna make around 10% of their premium for showing them the opportunity, for supporting them, for training them, for being there when they need you in the moment, and for doing everything else that you do to help them with their career. So 10% on average paid to you. So if they issue 10K a month, that's roughly $1,000 back to you monthly, over $10,000 a year to be able to help support them. So no pressure, but every single recruiting conversation could be worth that to you. That's why when I started recruiting, I realized, hey, I don't care if they do, because some will, some won't, so what? Somebody else will. And that's kind of the mentality you want in recruiting. Also, if you think about this, we're investing money in our sales leads, right? $21, $25, $29. And if you miss one of those, kind of hurts your bank account a little bit. On the recruiting side, most conversations are free. And so you can look at it as practice, but also potentially a doorway to a $10,000 pay raise. If I told you to start this year that you could give yourself a $10,000 pay raise for every great conversation, how many would you start? How many would you initiate? How many would you create? Even if 9 out of 10 people weren't looking, the 1 out of 10 that are gives yourself an instant pay raise, and you're helping them make a whole lot more money for their family. So let's get into the conversation and kind of how you want to go and how you want it to flow. The acronym that I've learned is called SHORT. SHORT. It stands for story, history, occupation, story, history. So you don't have to be a genius, okay? You still make mistakes even as partner in the company. So story, history, opportunity, ride along, and then training. Occupation is what we do in the warm-up conversation. So let's start with the S, story. Now here's a mistake I used to make on almost every single recruiting phone call or interview. I would start with my story. Why? Well, I thought I was trying to sell them on the opportunity. And most people think that they're the most interesting person, just like I do. So here's the problem with that. I would go 20, 30 minutes sometimes, telling them everything I thought was important about the company, what I liked about it, but here's what I didn't realize. It might not be what they thought was important or their hot button. So then I either waste that time and they may not even be the right person, or number two, I'm hitting on things that they don't care about or that they don't need to hear about. So we realize we need to ask them the first question about their story. So if I'm interviewing Ashley Klee, I say, Ashley, so tell me a little bit about yourself. What kind of work have you been doing? What are you looking for? Why did you respond to this ad? If it was warm market and maybe they didn't respond to an ad, I still want to get them talking about what kind of work they've been doing. As y'all can probably hear my kids in the background, what kind of work have they been doing? What's important to them? I would even ask them, hey, if all things were perfect, what would you be looking for in an opportunity? If you could design the perfect opportunity, what would be most important to you? Now, here's where you want to really be listening in, because not only does everybody like to talk about themselves, and the more you allow them to talk about themselves, they're going to like you more, but also you're going to find clues and hot buttons and things that you know you can cater point two to, which point two is your history. Your history. Your history would be things like, all right, now you know their story. Now, how does my history with the company relate to their story? So I find myself, for example, saying things like, you know, Miss Khalid, you're just like me. It sounds like you're just like me a few years ago. The things that are important to you and your family is what I was looking for in the opportunity. See, here's what I know. You can always find hot buttons of theirs that you share in common. It's called commonality. So for instance, if my prospect, Miss Khalid, was looking for more free time, I've hired car salespeople before that they didn't necessarily care about making more money. What they wanted is not having to work 80 hours a week, not having to work on holidays and evenings and weekends. And so guess what? Their hot button now is the freedom, the flexibility, the time, the lifestyle, maybe the residuals and the renewals that this sale opportunity offers that the car business does not. And so y'all see where I'm going with this? I'm going to tell them my history as it pertains to what their hot buttons are and their story indicated. Makes sense? I want to find as much commonality as I can. I want to tell them my history on why I got started with the company, what type of success I've been able to generate, because ultimately you design your history. And whatever history you've been able to create thus far with NASB is going to be a big selling point to them. One thing you can do if you're newer is borrow somebody else's history. For instance, you probably have a manager or a coach or an RVP or somebody that's going to be involved not only with your career, but your new prospect's career. So for instance, when I was new in recruiting, I would borrow the Milner story, being a fifth generation family-owned brokerage, starting their modern day brokerage back in the 1950s. Their family's been selling insurance since the 1800s. Their modern day brokerage from 1950 was kind of the original Select Quote. Everybody's heard of Select Quote. We shop, you save is Select Quote's motto. Well, you can kind of borrow that a little bit. And now that's what we do fast forward in the technology age. We're able to shop around as a broker for clients and find the best match for what they're looking for. You want to share some of these hot button points with your client. I like to always mention financial services, that we're in the #1 industry right now in America, financial services. If you Google search, there's going to be more millionaires created and more wealth in the financial services industry than any other industry over the next decade. Well, we happen to be #1 in final expenses and life insurance, which is a corner of the financial services industry, by the way, with access to all the other financial products, annuities, IULs, and things of that nature. So these first 2 points are huge. You're looking for their story, their hot buttons, and then you cater your history and what you share based on what they're looking for. Point number 3 is opportunity. And I kind of got ahead of myself there because opportunity is where you're really talking about the baby boomers and the fact that most baby boomers now are ages 60 to 78 roughly. So they're all what? They're all in the retirement phase of life where they've lost their employer insurance. They no longer have a group plan for the most part, and they need an individual plan. You want to simplify this for your prospect because chances are, when I looked at the business, they probably see it the same way, that insurance seemed more complicated than it actually was. And we can't take for granted what we know now after either months or years that you've been in this career to a new prospect that's thinking, can I do this? One thing I would always say to a new prospect is, Johnny, you don't necessarily care what type of money we've created. And by the way, we do show them the type of money that we created. We want to be transparent and not just tell them what's possible, but show them. But the line I would use is, Johnny, you don't necessarily care what type of money we've been able to create. You just want to know what type of lifestyle or income you can create. So here's what our average agent produces, and I'll share some of those numbers. You can share your team averages. Then you can share some highlights of what your top producers create. Maybe you have a great week that you want to show commissions recently, or a great month. I'd encourage you, that's the starting point of recruiting. You've got to create that success story that other people want to follow and they want to duplicate. Anything else that's important to you on opportunity, if you want to share on this part how the commissions work, that we get a yes from the client, we don't take any money up front, we set the draft up for the next month, yet the insurance companies pay us off of a 9-month advance, and give them example of how that commission works, how the average commission is over $400 for every yes, and the average agent gets 5 yeses a week. You're talking almost $2,000 in gross income. So you're hitting anything on this point opportunity-wise that can kind of wet their whistle, that can create the excitement to get them to point 4, which is the ride-along. See, the whole point of the door approach in the sales process is to gain permission to give a presentation. The whole point in those first 3 steps, their history, your story, the overall opportunity, is to do one thing. It's to get them to point 4, which is the ride-along. because I don't know about y'all, but seeing to me is believing. They can hear as many good things as you possibly can tell them, and chances are they've heard that from other companies, from other maybe insurance companies even. But when they see the process happen first person, when they see it live and they see you create success right in front of their own eyes, now all of a sudden something clicks and they start to believe it for themselves. Plus, here's what the ride-along does. It enables you to get to know them over a 7, 8, 9 hour day. And so you can answer more questions. You can get them to like you a little bit more, to trust you a little bit more. But here's also the power in it. If they don't come on, and maybe it's not their cup of tea, and maybe it's not the right timing for them, or you don't feel like it's the right fit, you still created income that day while they were observing. You didn't lose any money. I used to make a mistake where I'd go to Starbucks for half a day and interview people, and they would say everything right, and they'd tell me they're the most coachable person ever and the hardest working person ever. But guess what would happen? If I did not get them in the car, chances are I would lose them somewhere around the contracting or licensing process. And I lost a whole day out of the field where I could have been creating income for my family. So the ride along, more so than anything else in the whole building phase and the aspect of building a team here, the ride along process is the most important. When I first met Chad Milner and Craig Harvey, they told me something. They said, Jordan, the people that give the most ride-alongs and the most effective at ride-alongs will make the most money with NASB. I took that to heart, and I've seen that true in my career and other people's careers with the company. The T in short, and the last letter for it, the last part of the acronym, is for training. We don't want to just hire people just to get them under us. In fact, the first rule of building is to eliminate from your vocabulary, I just want a team under me. If I could just get this one guy or girl under me, I'd be good. If I could have a team of 30 people under me, can I tell you something? Nobody wants to be under you. They want to work with you, alongside you, to help accomplish their goals and hopefully a team goal. So when you look at yourself more as a support staff, as a coach, and that we're going somewhere together versus people that just work for you. If they want to work for somebody, they'll go find a job somewhere else. I think people want to work with a team, and they want to be able to create their own agency within a platform like we have to create. So the T stands for the ongoing training, not an MLM mentality that you hire somebody and you never hear from them again and you never reach out. It's the ongoing training that the Dreammaker team is so strong at, as well as the No Limit team. Ashley Khalid was here today in Raleigh doing an 8-hour training face-to-face with one agent, one brand new agent. He's already done a ride-along, but now it's for the ongoing training that he's going to need to be successful in the field. Your team's one of the best at this, but don't forget your people once they sign on. Provide that ongoing training, and it potentially could be a $10,000 raise for you per person each year that you find somebody. Good luck in your endeavor with recruiting. Don't forget the acronym SHORT, and we'll see y'all at the top.